Following the second failed impeachment attempt, Donald Trump has decided to lash out at Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. So now Trump has been deprived of his Twitter account, and so he had to release a statement attacking his former colleague. Here's what he said. The Republican Party can never again be respected or strong with political leaders like Senator Mitch McConnell at its helm. Mitch McConnell's dedication to business as usual, status quo policies, together with his lack of political insight, wisdom, skill, and personality, has rapidly driven him from majority leader to minority leader, and it's going to get worse. The Democrats and Chuck Schumer play McConnell like a fiddle. They've never had it so good, and they want to keep it that way. We know our America First agenda is a winner, not McConnell's Beltway First agenda or Biden's America Last. Let's hold on there, all right, for a minute. Okay, look, if this is such a winner, how come you lost? I think it's a fairly straightforward, simple question. If it's such a winner, how come you lost? I know, the voter fraud, so much fraud. You know what we had? We had
dumps, big, massive dumps.
So many dumps, so many very, very big dumps, very large, the largest dumps. Okay, so anyway, you know he didn't write it. You know he was screaming some dumb stuff, and they edited and wrote it. Very, very likely, actually, yes. This does sound a lot like Jason Miller, but nonetheless, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump not happy with Mitch McConnell. In fact, there's a couple of things in here that were definitely things that Trump probably said. First, he's going to go on to brag about, of course, his election results. He said, in 2020, I received the most votes of any sitting president in history, almost 75 million. Every incumbent House Republican won for the first time in decades, and we flipped 15 seats, almost canceling Nancy Pelosi, her jab. Republicans won majorities in, okay, whatever. Over the last 2 election cycles, I single-handedly saved at least 12 Senate seats. Wait, single-handedly. Quote, more than 8 in the 2020 cycle alone, and then came the Georgia disaster, where we should have won both U.S. Senate seats, but McConnell matched the Democrat offer of 2,000 stimulus checks with $600. Okay, so look, there's some truth in that. But he says, how does that work? It became the Democrats' principal advertisement. Definitely not something that he wrote. And a big winner for them, it was, I single-handedly saved 12 Senate seats. I did all the work. Me. Like, this was all my doing. It didn't have anything to do with anything else. No, it was me. I single-handedly won everything. The balls on this guy. You can almost respect how good he is at, just bullshitting. All right. So now, here's the thing. This election was a referendum on, mainly on coronavirus. Let's be honest with you. I don't think that, had coronavirus, I think if had it been handled or just didn't happen at all, Donald Trump might still be president. I'm being completely honest with you. I don't think that Joe Biden really had a compelling platform, and certainly didn't have the kind of charisma that Trump has. And again, being completely real. That said, his actions on the coronavirus, dealing with this, has had such devastating consequences. Again, he could even run on the illusion, could have ran on the illusion of a good economy, had all of this stuff not happened. And so, yeah, I think that, and I'll go back, I've got videos saying it before, that, Donald Trump was heading towards re-election if Joe Biden were to be his opponent. And it turned out, again, to be a referendum on coronavirus. And so that's very, very important. Trump did a terrible job. Almost 500,000 people have died in this country as a result of the coronavirus. And so Biden ended up getting about 7 million more votes than Trump. Now, you want to talk about how many votes you got, but you still came in second, which means Biden also got a record number of votes. So, okay. Now, again, in Georgia, he actually brought up a good point. Yes, Democrats did run on the $2,000 checks in the Georgia race. They absolutely did. If you want to go back and say, no, it was the 1,400 plus the 600 that Trump already gave you. No, they ran on $2,000 checks. Simple as that. Even though if they want to do the revisionist history, we've got receipts. So, but anyway, those checks, $2,000 checks, is extremely popular. That's why Trump ran on it. Because he knows, he understands, right? And Donald Trump understands that, like, doing popular things might help you in elections. Now, Mitch McConnell is the Grim Reaper, okay? And that is a name that he has given himself. And so, look, him not wanting those $2,000 checks, again, we've seen and I've talked about the plan, the coronavirus stimulus package that the Republicans put out. It was a skinny bill that didn't have any checks. That had nothing in it. Nothing for you, everything for corporations. And so understand, like, Mitch McConnell literally cannot feel joy unless he murders a poor person. And so that's Mitch McConnell for you, right? But anyway, Trump's going to go on about Georgia. He said, many Republicans in Georgia voted Democrat or just didn't vote because of their anguish at the inept governor, Brian Kemp, Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, who he called trying to look for find me some additional votes. I need them. I need 11,780 votes to win the election. That's why he's calling out Brad Raffensperger. You know it. And Brian Kemp. That's exactly why he's doing that. But also he blames the Republican Party, which he says for, quote, not doing its job on election integrity during the 2020 presidential race. Of course, he's got to talk about the big lie. Of course. It's all he has. There's more. It was a complete election disaster in Georgia and certain other swing states. Oh, you mean like Pennsylvania, Michigan, those states? Yeah. McConnell did nothing and will never do what needs to be done in order to secure a fair and just electoral system in the future. He doesn't have what it takes, never did, and never will. Look, McConnell didn't do anything because there wasn't anything to do. There wasn't widespread voter fraud. There just wasn't. Was there instances of voter fraud? Yeah, I've talked about those. There are instances where you had Republicans voting twice for Trump. That definitely happened. That is voter fraud. But there's never been enough voter fraud in order to really swing these elections. A smattering here and there, which is a very, very small amount of the total amount of votes that were cast. And so I'm sorry, but it's just not a thing. It's not real. No widespread voter fraud. In fact, every legitimate investigation, every recount has confirmed that the election went to Joe Biden, fair and square. So now, in the next part, he goes after McConnell. He goes after him hard. Here's what he said. Quote, and you know this is from him. My only regret is that McConnell begged for my strong support and endorsement before the great people of Kentucky in the 2020 election, and I gave it to him. He is destroying the Republican side of the Senate, and in doing so, seriously hurting our economy, hurting our country. Mitch is a dour, sullen, and unsmiling political hack, and if Republican senators are going to stay with him, they will not win again. Oh, that's awesome. You know that last part. That's Trump. That's Trump. All right, so look, there's something like Republican versus Republican crime. I love it. I do. Here's the thing. So Mitch McConnell hasn't responded to this. It hasn't responded yet, but it's clear. This is not going to be the first. This is not the first. And it won't be the last time that they trade barbs with each other. Remember, Donald Trump did vote voted not to convict Trump, but then came out against him anyway, and people who support him, and actually vowed to run primaries against Trump-supported, candidates. And so that's very serious, right? The people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are Trump allied. And so that's the civil war that's coming up. Okay, that is happening. And so now the reason that this is happening is because Trump has ripped the mask off the Republican Party. And Mitch, well, he's not happy about this. He's exposed the Republican Party for what it actually is. That undercuts the actions of Mitch McConnell for decades to basically hide the true nature of the party as a reactionary movement and to legitimize the Republican Party as the party of ideas. They're not. They're not a party of ideas. Their ideas are tax cuts and deregulation, and that's really it. Funnel more money to rich people. And what they did in order to get that is that they would use racist dog whistles, as I mentioned before, in order to, get the people to try to cut welfare programs in order to funnel that money to massive amount of money to donors in the form of tax cuts, massive tax cuts for the rich, not just for the sake of cutting into poor people, but to help their donors. And that's really what it is. Now, when Trump, got onto the scene, he ripped the mask off. He said, no, we're going to be open about it. We're racist and we're proud. That's it. And that's it. We're sexist and proud. And we're just going to be incredibly reactionary to whatever Democrats do because we hate them. And that's it. That's the Republican worldview, and it's been fully exposed. And that sucks for Mitch McConnell because most of the country is not into that. Even a lot of Republicans are not into that. But there's a lot of the base that is. And look, I'm not saying that every Trump supporter is racist, or misogynistic, but I am saying that to those people, to a lot of them, those aren't deal breakers. And that does say a lot. Okay. So now Mitch McConnell, he actually is a smart politician. He's good at his job. If his job means, staying in power, he's really, really good at staying in power. And so he plays the long game. He plays it very, very well, which is why he's been able to stay in power for decades and was able to personally enrich himself along the way, despite people in Kentucky hating his guts. But now, as a result of Trump, he's losing control because they found their champion in Trump, who was basically gone full mask off. And so now the thing about this, there's two ways to look at it. The one, it's in a good way. Mitch has to deal with the monster that they created. These Republicans have to deal with the monstrous, like Frankenstein that they've created in Trump and in the MAGA base. But there's a bad side of that, is that we also have to deal with that and whatever damage they cause the country if they ever get back into power. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.